morning, automotive students. This video is going to be for my 2214 class. We're going to be looking at this 2017 Honda CR-V. We are going to aim the front camera as well as the front radar unit. We'll also go ahead and aim the rear radar units. So first thing we're going to start out with is how to build the box. That's what Honda calls it. We need to set this up, take some measurements so that we can place the targets where they need to be. Okay, we're in the Honda information system, and what they need us to do is to, as Honda calls it, build the box. We're going to take a measurement at each of the four wheels. We're going to mark the floor. We're then going to run a string between those two and extend it out towards the front of the vehicle. Now ultimately what we want to be able to do is to place our target, in this case 4,000 millimeters, ahead of the center line of the front wheels, or that front axle if you will. In order to get an accurate measurement, Honda feels that you need to take two string lines on either side, and then we're going to measure 4,000 millimeters from that right front, 4,000 millimeters from the left front. We're then going to connect the two, hopefully crossing the center line of the vehicle. Now, let's take a look and see what they have as far as making those measurements and drawing the strings. Okay, this is how we're supposed to set up the box. In order to get the center line correct, we're going to need to find something, well, denoting the center of the vehicle. Honda says we can do it several different ways. What we're going to do on this particular vehicle, we are going to use the front emblem. We're going to drop a plumb bob, and we're going to mark the floor where the plumb bob hits. That is going to be the center line, or at least the front of the center line. Now, we are then going to place this aiming device in front of it, and then we're going to run the center string through it. Now, we're going to also take a look at the rear. So we need to find the center of the rear, and what they're telling us to do with this vehicle is use that central jacking point right there. Now on this one, as you'll see, we've got a trailer hitch mounted to it, but still that's not going to stop us. Now I can either run a plumb bob and mark the floor, or what I'm going to do is again use the same aiming fixture. It's got a little telescoping tube that comes up, so we're going to center it on the center jacking point, and then we'll mark the floor right here. Now as far as marking the four tires, or the floor next to the four tires, we're going to take this aiming fixture. We're going to again extend that little tube up, and for all the accuracy Honda wants, we're eyeballing this to the center cap on each wheel. We're then going to come out 3 inches and mark the floor, and we'll do that on each of the four wheels. All right, there's the tool that Honda wants you to use. Again, this is going to be their aiming tool. I'm going to extend this little telescoping tube here, or wand, and what I'm going to do then is line the tip, hopefully, with the center of the cap there. So let's raise this thing up. Again, this is going to be kind of just eyeballing it. So let's step back, take a look. I'm off a little bit. I need to move over, touch this way. All right, that looks fairly good there. Next thing, I'm going to go ahead and measure 3 inches out from the bottom of that tool, and I'm going to mark the floor. I'm going to put a piece of tape on there so I don't mess the floor up any worse than it is. Make sure this is firmly placed up against the tire. I'm going to step back, make sure that is in the crosshair, and that looks good. Okay, so I'm going to do that to each of the remaining 3 wheels. And once I get that done, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll go ahead and run our string. I have the 4 marks placed now. I'm getting ready to run the string or run the line up in front of the vehicle. Now, here's the left rear. There's the left front. Now, what I've done, sorry about the glare off that toolbox. What I've done is I've run a tape measure from the front extending towards the front of the vehicle. Now again, the spec is 4,000 millimeters or 400 centimeters or 4 meters in front of that. I'm going to make sure that I run this string well beyond that. Okay, so I'm going to need to set it up here. Now what I've got is a string, some tape. I'm going to go ahead and tape that string right so it crosses this rear dot. I'm ready now to run that string. I'm going to run it so it crosses over top of the mark that I made in the front of the tire. And then I'm going to run it clear out here past my 400 centimeters. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this same string and I'm going to repeat on the other side. Once I get that mark done, then I'll go ahead and run a line between the two. Now, some of you are probably saying, and I was saying when I first heard this procedure, why don't we just use lasers? Well, Honda says no. They may in the future, but at this point in time, they feel this is the best way that all of their technicians will be able to at least do this and do it well. So I've got that one marked. So now the plan is to connect the two. And I'm going to do that using, again, this string. Next thing then is determine where our center line is. Now for the front, I need to remove that license plate bracket, and then I'm going to basically run a plumb bob from the center of that Honda emblem there down to the floor, and then we'll mark it. Okay, license plate bracket's been removed. Now we need to run the plumb bob. Now to run the plumb bob, we're going to run the string right at the center of the Honda emblem. There's the center of the front according to that emblem. Now this is all assuming that the body is straight, the chassis is straight, and there's no problems. Some big assumptions. This may be a bit of a challenge to show you. What I need to do, I'm going to take our wonderful aiming tool again. I'm going to put that little telescoping pole hopefully centered with the central jacking location. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this has a trailer hitch, which actually is mounted and kind of sandwiching my centrally located jacking point. Let's relocate the light. Right there. Once I've got that done, I'm going to put a piece of tape right there at the floor. I'm going to mark it. I'm going to call that the center of the vehicle at the back. Okay, we need to use our aiming fixture again at the front. And here's the tool that I mentioned earlier that's going to need to go in the rear on the center line. Now, this is just a gas-loaded strut, kind of like you would have, you know, for a hood. Just had a bee attack me. You know, a hood, rear hatch, something like that. It's the same thing. I need to pass it through here and send it onto the back. I'll get him sent there. So what I need to do, get this as square as possible. I need to center the stand over the dot that I drew. And there's that. The black part of my tool is going to go down. The red handle then is going to hopefully sit centered on my centrally located jacking point. That's the plan anyways. We'll get them up on that centered jacking point, and the tip is on the line that we drew. Now I'm going to pull that cord taut. I'm going to pull it through the front target and extend it beyond our 4,000 millimeter. Then we'll mark the floor, and that'll be it for drawing our box. All right, I'm extending the line now forward, and I need to make sure that that stays centered. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mark the floor at that level. I got my center line coming out, and I guess you could say it's bisecting the line that I drew from the tires. So go ahead and put a little piece of tape and a dot right there, and then we'll get ready to set up the target.